Good morning, or wherever. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Flight Past. My name is Simon. Just going to check that the audio is good. Let me just the usual starting to stream shenanigans. Welcome anyway to Flight Past. My name is Simon, and I hope you're doing good. It's lovely to see the new people who have been joining in and saying hello. A little bit early today. I thought I'd get a start. If you're new to the channel, what I'm going to do is I'll do a quick little short intro for the YouTube short people, and then we'll just get on with the stream from there. I'm just coming around here to Quatre Bras. Okay, so we'll start here then. Hello, YouTube short people. This is Flight Past. My name is Simon, and we are flying over the battlefield of Quatre Bras. If you are interested in flying and history, in this video, in the link which you see here, we're going to be following Wellington's retreat from this battlefield below us back to the north in this direction here on the 17th of June as he retreats back to the field of Waterloo. So if you like that sort of stuff, then join me. I stream live on YouTube and Twitch most days, and you can find a playlist in the link below. See you soon. Right, that's that done then. Just going to try and do these little things before we start. I hope everyone's okay. Hope everybody is can hear me okay and the volumes are all right. Cool. Right, so yes, hello, good morning, and hello, Guy back. Let's check you today. You're in a nice blue, nice moustache today. And what are we doing today? Well, we are, if you remember, we finished the last stream yesterday. And we were talking about the Prussian withdrawal from Ligny. And we are today going to look into Wellington's reaction to that withdrawal. Now remember, when we left yesterday, we'd left Thieleman's Corps, the 3rd Corps. They had been we worked out had gone to a place. Actually, let me get this map out here, and we can do a recoup. So, for all of you people who are new to the channel, I know that lots of you give up within the first minute, but you've probably seen by the way I've started this, that's probably the reason why you do. Hopefully, you'll be triggered to come back and carry on a little bit more. And what you can see here is the route that we've taken so far in this journey, and I was uploading some of the videos yesterday, and we're on to around about, I break these things up into chapters, and we're on around about chapter 60 something at the moment. So that's the pace that we go at, and we've gone from Elba down here all the way to Paris, and we've now come up to these numbers here, the 3 and the 4, and the 4 is basically the battlefield of Ligny, And we're just at number 3 here at the moment. And in the last episode, what we did was we left Grouchy. He had tried to find out where the Prussians had retreated after the Battle of Ligny, and he had conflicting reports that there was troops moving to Namur, to the south there, and also to possibly Wavre. And he had made the decision to come up, we believe, to this village here, Sart le Walhain. Is probably this crossroads here, which we found in the last episode, and from that position there, he would then decide which way to go. So he's sending out patrols all the time. So you can see he's all the way over here. The other Prussian units had managed to get to Wavre. So remember that they had found Blucher still alive. He was found in a place called Mellery, which was down here. And Gneisenau had decided to send his some officers up ahead, and he managed to stop the people retreating off the battlefield at around about Louvain. He managed to pick up, I think I didn't mention it, but around about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he manages to locate his ammunition wagons, and so that places him in a position basically to re-equip his army around Wavre. And if you remember, we had just to the this place here, Berge is where Ziethen's first corps gets to. We get Perch One's corps moves up to the north here of Wavre, and we then have Thielmann's corps will pass through as well into the north of Wavre, and Boulou's corps, which will get to Dion, Le Mans. So at the end of the day and into the early morning of the 17th and 18th, Gneisenau is in a position where he now needs to just find out what it is that Wellington is going to do. So we are flying over the south of Belgium. Just see if I can get there. We're just going to turn around here, I think. We've got live weather on, and it's all looking very pretty. And I'm a little bit worried because I think the flight simulator had an update. Overnight, so we'll see how it acts. So we left Wellington at the battlefield of Quatre Bras. So remember, he essentially managed to win the Battle of Reinforcements. Some people believe more by luck than judgment. But he does win that Battle of Reinforcements and denies Ney's part of the French army the crossroads at Quatre Bras. Just to get it orientated, so where we are just here is where the Prussian army fell back from. They streamed up this valley here heading behind us towards Wharf, and Wellington is over this area here on the battlefield of Quatre Bras. Now, we know the Prussians tried to send a messenger, a dispatch rider, on the evening of the 16th, and Harding was the liaison officer on the Prussian staff, Wellington's liaison officer, and he was trying to get messages to Wellington. But we know this area here, where we see Mar Bay, in fact we'll fly over here, but this area around Mar Bay gets overrun with the French, and the messenger that is sent doesn't arrive. Now, that means that Wellington, on the evening of the 16th at Quatre Bras, isn't completely aware of what has happened over here. The messages that he has been getting have been hinting that the Prussians would hold out, and so he has no reason then to withdraw. By the way, there's a guy up here called Gremlin. We are on the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. If you want to join me, you can join me. I'm in the I'm on European West server. If you jump into that, and you can find Charleroi and head north, you'll see a Huey helicopter flying around. But this place here is Mar Bay, and this is where the French managed to cut off the communications between the Anglo-Dutch army under Wellington and the Prussians. What I thought I'd do today is do a little bit slightly different. I was going to read a few of the reports out that the British officers and senior staff wrote about this part of the campaign, so we can get a feeling for what they were feeling. So it might be disjointed, but it will help to essentially get a feel for the confusion that occurred on that day. So let's start off then. The morning of the 17th of June. We're coming up here now on Quatre Bras, and where my white dot is, you'll see the beginning of the battlefield. This is the eastern side here. This is Pyramont, the village of Pyramont. We got the Matern Pond, Jeramco farmhouse, the Bossu Woods up here, and this ridge here, which was basically essentially a sort of like a mini Waterloo with a reverse slope, and this is where Wellington's positions are, and along this road, the Namur Road here, and it stretches off into the distance there. This is where a lot of Wellington's troops were coming to concentrate, coming down this Nivelles Road here, and the road heading up on the right here is going to head up towards Genappe and eventually to the ridge at Mont Saint-Jean. So I'm going to start off with a quote from Major General Sir Colin Hackett. He's the 5th commander of the 5th Infantry Brigade, and he was talking. He talks about a guy called Sir Edward Barnes, Major General Sir Edward Barnes, and he says in his a letter written in 1835, so we're talking 20 years after the event, he says, "In the course of the night, Sir Edward Barnes joined me and told me what had happened to the Prussian army, and it is Grace directed I should retire before daybreak, and taking care that the enemy did not observe our motions. Of course, everything to effect this was accordingly communicated along the advance, and we retired, leaving fires, etc., as if we were in position, without being pursued by the French, and joined the brigade on the march to the point I was directed on in good order. So that letter, okay, it's 20 years after the event, but it's suggesting that they left fires, and that's the key detail we have to remember here. Setting fires, remember this is summertime. I mean, we're North Europe, it's getting light quite early, but leaving fires, okay, maybe it wasn't just about the light, it was also about the smoke. And it also suggests that they maybe, the British are cooking up breakfast or something like that. But they light fires so that the French believes there's more troops here than before. And that letter also suggests that Wellington was already aware that there was a situation where he'd have to pull back. So that's one of the first clues that we get. And there's another letter here. This one is from Lieutenant John Pratt. He's from the 30th Regiment, and he wrote this again in 1835. And it says, at this time, he says it's 9 a.m. The 3rd was, I believe, the only division of infantry on the ground, the remainder of the army having made a retrograde movement during the night or early in the morning of the 17th, and between 11 and 12 a.m. received orders to withdraw, having as much address as possible not to attract the notice of the enemy, past the Hussar Brigade, which was formed half a league in the rear, and joined the division en route. So here he's suggesting that there was already an awareness that they needed to retire, though his orders didn't come until probably, what did he say? He said probably around about 11, wasn't it? Or he said early in the morning. 11 and 12. So it sounds like the troops have been withdrawn slowly, in piecemeal, bringing them back, but it had begun already right by about 9 o'clock in the morning. Now we know Wellington spent the night, by the way, in Genappe, and they had seen a number of Prussian troops coming past them during the morning. So I think Wellington had already sort of begun to believe that he had to withdraw anyway. He left the battlefield here at 10 o'clock in the evening, and to eat and sleep. And he does return here in the morning at around 4:30 a.m. This Namur Road here, this section which we can see just here, and there was sporadic fighting in the evening of the 16th, musketry fire, mainly small arms sort of stuff. And Wellington did send Colonel Sir Alexander Gordon with a squadron of the 10th Hussars to reconnoitre towards the last known Prussian position, which would have been over here at Bry. And they must have got quite a long way across here, because they managed to get to Thielmann, and Thielmann was in charge of the 3rd Corps, who were over at Sombref. the back of Sombref in this, where this white dot is here. Thielmann, remember, is kind of in charge of the sort of rear guard of the Prussian army, and he's actually luring them in the wrong direction, up towards Gembloux. And he returns back, so he comes back in then towards Wellington, and it's believed that Wellington then receives this report probably around about 7 o'clock in the morning, and this is confirmed by Muffling, the Prussian liaison officer. And this is the message. He says, at 9 o'clock an officer arrived from Wavre with verbal messages for me. Just as I was sitting with the Duke on the ground, I knew that this officer spoke French and English, and therefore indicated to him by a motion of the hand that he might say to the Duke what he had to report to me. He declared to me, this is Wellington, I would accept a battle in the position of Mont Saint-Jean if the Field Marshal were inclined to come to his assistance, even with 1 corps only. So this is early in the morning of the 17th, and basically Wellington is already thinking, okay, he's getting reports of the Prussian retreat, and he's now going to go back to Mont Saint-Jean. So Mont Saint-Jean is definitely a pre-prepared position that Wellington is aware of and believes is a good place to put up a stand, and he's asking for 1 corps only. The news that he's getting, though, from the Prussians is not really encouraging. Their losses are reported to be exceeding 20,000 men with artillery, and he also hears of Blucher's injury. Because Thielmann's corps is in the region of the battlefield still, it gives him hope that the French are not in much better position at this time. It's also suggested, by the way, that this the map that the Prussians were using at the time, when we mentioned that they had met at Mellery in the night and were looking at a map and pointed towards the town of Wavre. This was a map that was is suggested was written by or drawn up by a British lieutenant called Basil Jackson of the Royal Staff Corps. And so this suggests that this whole area had been mapped, and all the sort of suitable positions detailed on it. Presumably then giving copies to each arming, and so that they were singing off the same hymn sheet. Right, so what I'm going to do, we're going to be streaming probably for about 2 hours. Every 20 minutes or so I'll take a break, and that gives me the opportunity to chop up these videos for the YouTube lot on there. So I'll be back in a few minutes. If you're watching live, it'll only be a couple of minutes, and I'll continue the story of Wellington's retreat to Brussels. If you've liked this, do all the things that help a small channel grow, such as like, subscribe, hug, love, all that sort of stuff, and I will see you in a moment. Hello, welcome to Flight Past. This is Simon. We're in the Huey. We're over South Belgium, and down below us here is the battlefield of Quatre Bras, and we are today following Wellington's retreat from this place, which you see just to the north of the helicopter, up towards Genappe in the north there, as we follow Wellington's retreat on the 17th of June 1815. If you love history and love flying, and this is the stream for you, we use the Huey to check out some of these battlefields and see what the people of the day could see and how that affects the decisions made. So we are continuing the journey now. We were talking about it being around about probably, so let's say Wellington, who was up at Genappe, came back down here at 4:30. Messengers started coming to him here, and he starts to formulate a plan. Now, the information that the Prussians had gone north to Wavre was key to what Wellington does next. Wellington's army is spread out. We're talking, let's just pause here. I'll get the map out and we can show you the area that he's trying to concentrate his forces from. And it's essentially, we're talking, his forces are anywhere from Mons, Ath, Ninove, Edingen, all this area here to the sort of between Brussels, Ghent, and Mons is the area where the British and Dutch armies are concentrated. Now, a lot of them were being told to move to Quatre Bras, and had arrived during the obviously in time for the battle on the 16th to deny Ney, and lots of cavalry started beginning to arrive in the evening. So we've basically now got the army of the of Wellington in this area here, just to the around and to the north of the crossroads of Quatre Bras. So with the news that the Prussians have moved to this number 5 here, he now makes the decision to move to this position here, number 6, which is Mont Saint-Jean, and there is there's a ridge that runs east-west here. And as we pointed out in the last chapter, it's likely that the British had mapped out this area in quite detail. The British Signal Corps had been operating around here and had established where the best places were to launch a defence. Now, Wellington's army on its own wouldn't be able to fare well against the French numerical supremacy. Now, Grouchy did take 2 corps. He had Van Dam's and Girard's and a number of elements of cavalry. Probably in the region of maybe at least a third of the army would come with Grouchy. Ney had another 2 corps. He had Rails and d'Erlon's corps. And Napoleon had the Imperial Guard, which was essentially a corps in itself. So Wellington's army would be outnumbered if they didn't get any reinforcements. But one thing he couldn't do is stay where he is at Quatre Bras. The position might be, I believe, quite good if you're trying to face up to an army coming from the south, like Ney was doing on the previous day. There's a number of features very similar to the Battle of Waterloo's features, with a farmhouse situated in the centre, and some features like a village on the left and woods on the right, and with a slight reverse slope to protect from artillery. But knowing that the Imperial Guard or the Napoleon might come on his flank meant that the position wasn't tenable, so he had to pull back and buy himself time and buy the Prussians time to reorganize. So, like we said, he got the message that the Prussians had withdrawn to Wavre, and he sends the message back that he is now going back to Mont Saint Jean, and he'll basically says, if you come to me here at Mont Saint Jean with at least one corps, then I will face Napoleon there. So today is the 17th of June 1815, and essentially Wellington is now going to pull his army back, continue concentrating his troops around Mont Saint Jean, and await a reply from the Prussians. Now, he's got a problem, essentially, early on, and that is, with that decision in mind, is how to organize the retreat. He needed time for the troops to recuperate from the previous night's exertions, but he was fearful. He was fearful that the reports were that he felt that if he would press these troops too quickly to move, many of the Dutch Belgium troops may just desert. Now, whether this is true or not, or is a bit of a sort of a prejudice against these Dutch Belgian troops who had performed brilliantly on the previous day, mainly holding up this side over here, this battle part of the battlefield here, where these were woods here, and they stopped the French, and they held the farmhouse originally. But this is when they decided to do this sort of a slow withdrawal. And remember, there were still troops arriving down this road, the Vels Road. If we just spin around here, he had troops with orders to arrive here, still arriving, coming down this road, but my white dot is now coming down this way here. So he had to wait for them to arrive, or even to send orders out to ask them to divert north. And we could probably, if we just head over this way, we may see some of these smaller roads may have been used to divert the troops away from Quatre Bras and up to the north. Now, Wellington had on his staff, we mentioned this guy Muffling. He's a Prussian liaison officer, and he had Muffling had experience of campaigning against Napoleon in 1813 and 1814. And he writes in his dispatches, he said that the question arose whether the Duke should make his troops, weary with their preceding day's march, break up at once, or first let them rest and cook. And he preferred the latter, but was apprehensive that his rearguard might be involved in severe fighting. He says, I could not share this apprehension. The enemy only bivouacked on the 16th, the previous day, in the dusk of the evening, and in such cases it was always Napoleon's custom in the wars of Germany to allow his troops first to cook and to break up at about 10 o'clock in the morning. So with this information, then when we would remember, we were talking probably Wellington gets back to Quatre Bras around about 7 o'clock in the morning. So he's deciding that to maybe let the troops have their fires, start their breakfasts, but then start pulling back the troops in a gradual manner, and hopefully get most of them away by around about 10 o'clock. Now the French have this what Muffling described as a right to rest. They kind of exercise their right to rest, and Muffling pointed out to Wellington that the French sometimes supply system, logistical system, was seldom adequate for the troops that they had, and they would need time, therefore, to what they call maraud. So basically, they're going to go off and try and catch their breakfasts. So Wellington gives the order, essentially, to for his troops to have breakfast and then move. And he wanted to move his army up the road to Genappe and eventually to the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean. We've just come down here to Nivelles. This is this town below us. And I'm just checking out because if any stragglers were arriving up this road heading towards Quatre Bras, then the likelihood would be that messengers would have been sent out and told them not to bother, and to probably take some route across here. And I was just trying to see if there's any sort of roads that might be used at that time. It's difficult to sometimes separate the modern roads from the old roads. There's lots of new roads built at the time, but it could be that there's some of these troops that were told to get to Quatre Bras are then diverted in this direction. And you can see actually up here where the white dot is, that is the battlefield of Waterloo. So it could be that they would be streaming up this way. Braine-l'Alleud is the Prince Orange's headquarters here, so you can see that they might cross this way. Let's head back to Quatre Bras and we'll then fly up the road to Genappe. Now, one thing I do get is there's an order that was sent out at the same time, supposedly, that mentions a minor force that Wellington sent out to a place called Tubize and Hal. I'm just going to pause here and then we're going to see if I can find that on the map. Tubize. Can anyone see Tubize? Now, the context of the message was: there's a minor force was sent to Tubize and Hal to the west of this position as a hindrance to any outflanking maneuver. And that suggests to me it was in context with the retreat back to Mont Saint-Jean via the road via Genappe and those on either side. So this is the road to Genappe, the road on either side. Small forces. I can't see any can't see any place called, I mean, Hal is there's Hal. Okay, that's Hal, I think. Okay, there's Tabiz and Hal. So that's an interesting thought, isn't it? So he's saying here that he wants to retreat up this road from 3 to 6, and he's sending a small force, presumably back this way, and basing it at Tabiz and Hal. Now what does that suggest to you? He says this is a small force as a outflanking maneuver. This suggests to me that he's still got in his mind that the French are going to attack from Mons. He's still got in his mind that he may not be facing. To me, that suggests he knows that there's a large force over here at Fleurus, Ligny. He knows there's a large force in front of him here at Quatre Bras. But that suggestion that he moves a small force to this side here, Hale and Tabiz, is interesting, because that to me suggests that he's got Prussians at Wavre. He'll have his main force at Waterloo, and he'll have another force here at Tabiz. I think that suggests that he thinks there's a third army or a third corps or a third column of French, possibly down here in Senef, Menage area, Binche, maybe coming up from Mons. Maybe he's still holding on to that thought that there's a force coming from Mons, because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't put these people here if you knew that you had all the forces in front of me. So I think he still thinks that maybe Ney's army is the central army, and there's another force somewhere around coming up from south of Nivelles. I don't know. I don't know what everyone else thinks about that. And if you do, stick some comments in there, and I'm going to try and find out where I got that information from. I'll have to look at my sources there. I don't think I wrote it down. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so we are just coming up to Genappe now. So this is where Wellington spent the night on the 16th, 17th. Just going to head back actually quickly to Quatre Bras, just to say he sets up a line, by the way, essentially from Pyramont here across. It's a thin line, just to sort of suggest that the whole army is there, and stretched from Pyramont to the farmhouse on the right-hand side. So he's essentially trying to suggest to the French that he's holding the position and that he will be engaging again that day. By 11 o'clock in the morning, all the troops that were coming down this road from Nivelles have arrived and been diverted up the Genappe Road. And it's believed that Wellington supervised this disengagement, and he used basically the Cook's and Alton's divisions along with the 95th Rifles of Picton's division to sort of leapfrog each other basically backwards and back down the road. And the total disengagement at Quatre Bras occurs by around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you, Jenkins. So what essentially happens then is that the what is left here at Quatre Bras is a cavalry unit, and some horse artillery. So they will be the rear guard of the army as they fall back. And between this time, somewhere between 7 AM and the actual eventual retirement, Major General Sir Hussey Vivian wrote in his letter 1839, he says that Wellington lay himself down on the ground, covered his head with one of the newspapers he had been reading, and appeared to fall asleep. And in this way he remained some time. And when he again rose and mounted his horse and rode down the field in front of Quatre Bras a little distance, and looked through his glass, and I perfectly well remember his expressing his astonishment at the perfectly quiet enemy, and he say it was not at all possible that they might be retreating. These are different letters, by the way. I thought it would be interesting to see what the times that they talk about. There's one here as well by Lieutenant Forbes, and he was of the 79th Highlanders, and he wrote this in a letter in 1837. He said, A retreat was ordered at 1 o'clock on the Brussels road, and with a view to deceive the enemy during this operation, the light companies of the 8th Brigade were drawn out at some distance in front. So that suggests that when he says drawn out, presumably like they thinned out the line, but they tried to make it look like everyone was still there. What else is going on this day? We've got a report from a Miss Charlotte Eaton. We're just coming over the battlefield here right now. And she woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I mentioned this because she says in a letter, she said, I again got up at a little after 4 o'clock. What a different sight from the morning before. An uninterrupted chain of carts going helter-skelter. Cars with wounded soldiers. Belgian regiments seemed to be without any discipline or control, all pouring into the town. Wounded soldiers lying on the pavement, having got as far as the town but unable to crawl further. The dismay was abysmal. And that is the scene that was met on the 17th of June. So these are wounded troops arriving in Belgium on the 17th from the battle on the 16th. She also mentions, by the way, the weather, which she says is fine at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, in context, remember on the other side of the battlefield, Napoleon is getting up around about 6 o'clock. He comes down for breakfast, and he receives a report from Pajul, his commander of cavalry, who was ordered to follow the Prussian retreat, and that report suggests that the Prussians were retreating towards Liège and Namur. And this is where the Pajul has basically mistaken the deserting 8,000 Prussians for a corps of organized troops. So at breakfast then, Napoleon is sends a message basically out to Ney to report on the previous day's action at Quatre Bras. And this is when Napoleon will give his orders out to Grouchy to take some of his two of his corps out and follow the Prussians. There's a sign here that there's something maybe possibly a little bit different here. It's believed that Grouchy, when he comes to receive his orders from Napoleon, is asked to accompany him to visit the battlefield of Ligny. It's not something that he normally did. But it just shows a sort of some sort of lack of urgency. It doesn't sound like the old Napoleon. He would have probably ordered a vigorous pursuit early on, and because he's now got wrong information, and the pursuit is now going to be in the wrong way. There's a lot of theories as to why this was. One theory suggests that Napoleon was basically just lacking sleep, and that he wasn't operating in the same sort of clear thinking. He had been on horseback probably since the 15th. And basically, nothing on the morning of the 17th, nothing really is ordered by Napoleon until about 11 a.m. There's also a theory, because remember, right at the end of the Battle of Ligny, Napoleon had retired and he had refused to see some of his officers. And there's another theory that he suffered from, I believe it's something called, I'm going to get this wrong, acromegaly. It's a disease of the pituitary gland. And one of these, the symptoms is supposed to be fits of lassitudes and spasms of over-optimism. So, possible. It's something that affects men in middle age. It's just a possible theory. Victor Hugo of Les Miserables fame says, was the evident physical decline of Napoleon accompanied at this time by a corresponding mental decline? Had his 20 years of war worn out the sword as well as the sheath, the soul as well as the body? Was the veteran injuriously felt in the captain? In a word, was that genius, as many considerable historians have thought, under an eclipse? Had he put out on a frenzy to disguise his enfeeblement from himself, or did he begin to waver and be bewildered by a random blast? Was he becoming a grave fault in a general careless of danger, in that class of material great men who may be called the giants of action? Is there an age when their genius becomes short-sighted? Old age has no hold on the geniuses of the ideal, for the Dantes and the Michelangelos. To grow old is to grow great, and for the Hannibals and the Bonapartes it is to grow less. Had Napoleon lost his clear sense of victory? Could he no longer recognize the shoal, no longer divine the snare, no longer discern the crumbling edge of the abyss? Had he lost the instinct of disaster? Was he, who formerly knew all the paths of triumph, and who, from the height of his flashing car, pointed them out with sovereign finger, now, under such dark hallucination as of drive his tumultuous train of legions over the precipices? Was he seized at 46 years with a supreme madness? Was this titanic driver of destiny now only a monstrous breakneck? That's Victor Hugo in Les Miserables, and beginning to doubt the acumen of Napoleon. Now, it is known that Napoleon would normally be issuing orders at around about 2 o'clock in the morning, and this would mean that most of the recipients would get their orders by 6 or 8 o'clock, and so they could go and pressed on with their actions. And so we know that he's been slow on this morning of all mornings. And what's the consequence of this? Well, the consequence of this is nay. I mean, probably he's got verbal orders, probably. He's waiting written orders. But he still fails to prepare Rail's corps for an early morning attack. Or he also fails to inform d'Erlon to move his corps up in support. He does not issue, and so Napoleon doesn't issue any orders until 11 a.m. there's a in action, and instead he's just sort of asking for his troops to be prepared to be inspected. He has sent Ney his account of what's happened at Ligny. His orders are, in a certain sense, are very ambiguous. Much of the blame, of course, is put on the Chief of Staff, Soule. And we will end this one here, and we'll go have a quick break. And when we come back, we'll look at Napoleon's orders to Ney and see if we can make any headway out of it. And we'll continue our journey heading up back to Mont Saint-Jean. So I'll see you in a moment. Right, welcome back everybody. We are following with Wellington's retreat now back from Quatre Bras on the 17th of June 1815, and we've just been discussing why Ney was so slow in getting moving on the morning of the 17th. Wellington has done a clever action trying to show that he's still a strength for Quatre Bras, but there's no there's not even an attempt to probe the lines here, and we're flying over the battlefield of Quatre Bras now. If you're new to the channel, this is what we do. We fly low, we look at history in the Huey helicopter and see if we can get an insight into the decisions made, what topography and distances show us, and how it affects history. So this is the battlefield here of Quatre Bras. We've got the Bossu Wood right below us here, and this the place down here called Frosnes is where Ney is at the moment. We try to keep it a little bit casual here. It's a discussion, so if you have any comments, then please put them in. And below, if you're watching back on YouTube later, say something, do a comment, and I'll pick it up in a future stream. So the Napoleon's orders on the day. So this is via his Chief of Staff Sul, and this is how it reads. And this is something I think that possibly would be arriving maybe at right about 11 o'clock in the morning. The Emperor is going to the mill of Bry, and Bry is this place just here, where the white dot is now. You'll see the label there. So he's heading to the mill of Bry, where the highway from Namur to Quatre Bras passes. This makes it impossible that the English army should act in front of you. In the latter event, the Emperor would march on it by the Quatre Bras road, while you attack it from the front, and this army would be destroyed in an instant. Therefore, keep His Majesty informed of whatever takes place in front of you. His Majesty's wishes are that you should take up your position at Quatre Bras, but if this is impossible and cannot be accompanied, send information immediately with full details, and the Emperor will act there as I have told you. If, on the contrary, there is only a rear guard attack it and seize the position. Today is absolutely necessary to end this operation and complete the military stores, to rally scattered soldiers and summon back detachments. So my interpretation of those orders is engage basically at Quatre Bras. If it's the Napoleon, my Emperor, is going to come to my support on my right flank. The bit at the end saying to end the operation, I think what he means is to end the operation of capturing Quatre Bras, but then completing the military stores, to rally scattered soldiers and summon back all detachments. That sounds like seize the crossroads and then gather everyone together again. This, by the way, is Bry. So this is the mill here. I think it's this place here where the dot is. And so this is where Napoleon says he's going to come. And he's actually coming across from Fleurus here, across the battlefield at Ligny. And his intentions is to come up the road, the Namur. This road down here, this one here. So this is the direction that Napoleon's coming into. He closes this dispatch, by the way, by saying that the French army was to make a halt for the day. This was necessary to obtain munitions, to rally scattered men, and to call in detachments. So this is an interesting argument, because it doesn't mention here pursuing. This doesn't sound like an order to pursue. This sounds like more of an order to concentrate. To sort of consolidate, I think, is the word I'm trying to think. So it just suggests, doesn't it, that his presence at Bry, his presence coming down the road, here, is going to protect Ney from any attack. Not that I think Wellington would ever go on the attack. And so it was more of a sort of suggestion that, you know, you should be able to... his literal presence here would force Wellington back. Now, so that's is all on Napoleon, but Ney had probably been informed of the victory over at Ligny, he should have known as well that if the Prussians were falling back, then it would be likely that Wellington would try to do the same, and so it would be definitely in his interest to force a pressure on that retreating army, at least so that they themselves can't accumulate their stragglers, especially the ones that are still coming in on the road from Nivelle. So again, there's not only there's Napoleon's lethargy, but then Ney seems to have a strategic lack of awareness. So historians have wondered about this, wondered about what is going on, and the only thing that people can think of is that the energy of the army, the French army, the drive has always come from Napoleon, and possibly then his, his lack of or sending orders out in the early morning for his people because of his ill health has affected the campaign. Was reports of him being ill throughout the night of the 16th. Grouchy was waiting for his orders, and it wasn't until the morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning, that the emperor would see him. And then he says that Grouchy's remarked that Napoleon looked extremely fatigued. So there's another report that he didn't like the jolting of his carriage, and so he'd have to mount a horse, and he would ride very slowly. So he was obviously... There was something going on that was unsettling Napoleon at this time. Okay, let's... We're just here on Genappe. You can see here the terrain, how the terrain changes. You've got these fields this side, but look at these woods and sort of small hills on that side. So it might make it a little bit difficult for the Prussians to come across this side. Here we're at Genappe right now. Now the British, you see, there was a case that they were in a strong position on the evening of the 16th. There's reports of them being in high spirits. They hadn't heard of the Prussian defeat. They were confident, though, that they will probably keep Napoleon at bay. This is all reports you hear at the time. And the position at Quatre Bras would only get stronger and stronger as the Anglo-Dutch armies concentrated. And then there's reports, you see, then the news starts arriving that there was a setback. The Prussians had pulled back, and then you hear this sort of reports in letters saying that their spirits were depressed. And this is when Wellington then comes out and starts to make his orders. I got an interesting a note here about Wellington. It was just a small detail. At the same time that the news had arrived and spread that the Prussians had been set back, it's believed that Wellington was walking around. He had what's known as a switch, which is kind of like I suppose it's your riding whip, and he held it and almost all chewing on the end of it, in thinking. This is when it's believed that the line is said by him that old Blucher has had a damn good licking and has gone back to Wavre, 18 miles. As he has gone back, we must go too. I suppose in England they will say we have been licked. Well, I can't help it. As they have gone back, we must go too. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. Around about 9 o'clock, you got Napoleon's ridden down with Grouchy towards his troops, and he's actually passing through his troops, thanking officers and men and distributing rewards. He gives out orders for the wounded to be relieved, and even some of the Prussians to be looked after. He starts believing. There's beliefs that he starts talking about the state of France. You know, there's something definitely not right with him at this moment. Complaining about the Parisian politics. This is all these sort of things have been noted at the time. And even so, remember, this is around about 10 o'clock. We get Wellington's actually having a look at the lines down here of the French, and he can't see any activity really to be worried about. And this may the line where he says, I think Muffling remembers him saying it, that it's possible that the French might even be retreating. And may go to explain why he pushes that small force over to the east, around Hull, possibly because he feels that maybe Ney has left a pinning force here, where my white dot is, and as moving around to his Wellington's right. Just a theory. the small details you pick up about this retreat as well. We get one from a guy called Lieutenant Fred Hope Patterson. He wrote in 1842, and he was a member of the 33rd Regiment. He says on the early morning of the 17th, the brigade, being under arms, was ordered to move from its position our apparent advance. That they moved to the east first towards the enemy was intended as a feint to deceive them, as we no sooner crossed the road which was contended for by Picton's division the previous evening, and had got between the wood and the enemy so as to intercept from our view our movements. Then we entered into a by-road and retreated. Now, what does that mean? So that suggests to me that this brigade, the 33rd Regiment was kind of ordered to show themselves, almost to be moving into a position of strength in front of the enemy before retreating afterwards. So they're kind of almost tried to make themselves look like they're reinforcing and then pulling back. Now remember our friend Captain Mercer. He's in the Royal Horse Artillery. He learns that they're retiring and that he's ordered to remain in the rear with the cavalry. Remember I mentioned the Royal Horse Artillery were part of the rear guard. So he's one of those. And we'll hear a few stories from him as we go back towards Mont Saint-Jean. He describes, by the way, Mercer describes the morale at the time as high. They are actually sort of feeling confident. I think they feel that the battle the previous day was their victory and not the French's. Especially in the sense that they'd managed to repel Ney's forces with limited resources of their own. And he mentions as well in his dispatches that they were made they were made to believe that the retreat that they were about to do wasn't really a retreat. It was more intended as a maneuver of concentration. So there you go. It's not a retreat, it's a maneuver of concentration. And he then describes this position here that let me just jump out actually. We've been flying around for a little bit. Let's jump out here and we can check out the battlefield. This is looking north. This is the battlefield. You've got the crossroads ahead. Gemincourt is below. And what it suggests to me is that you've got on this battlefield this ridge here, which was so important. You can hardly see it, but you see where the line of the crops are there. You can see down this side there's a slope, and so you can't see this way, and then you have it falling down here. Now, what's that report we just talked about with Lieutenant Patterson's 33rd Regiment? I believe what it suggests is that when they were trying to pull back, a lot of these regiments would, in a certain sense, because Picton's divisions were along this ridge here, they would come up and here to show the French where they were, to give the image that they are lining up here and concentrating at this point. So that was the British position. This is where the French are likely to be probably around this area here. I believe their guns were on this ridge here. So they were wanting to, and if you're down here, for example, let's say you were a French gun situated here, you want to make sure that the French can see you up on the ridge. So they were making maneuvers to look like they were concentrating up on that ridge up there, where what they were actually doing was showing themselves and then turning off and then up the road. So that's my interpretation of what Patterson was talking about. Mercer would talk about this as well. The first 95th Rifles would show themselves here. And he reports that the 95th Rifles concluded their skirmishing, which suggests that they would fire off a few shots, probably whatever targets they can see, and then they themselves would then pull back. And so what happens then is that Mercer, the Royal Horse Artillery, finds himself alone here with he calls a small picket of hussars, and they're awaiting the French advance up this road. The ammunition wagons are all being sent up the road as well, and he says that the limbers that you have on these carriages had around about 50 rounds. So they weren't expected to hold the position for long. Now Mercer's going to act simply as a rear guard. It's likely that the French will send out cavalry advance as a vanguard, and what they will do is they will, with the hussars, they will fall back down this road, and at strategic positions they will unlimber their guns and fire at the French at certain positions, and we'll look into those as we go back. And we'll call that one a good time to pause here, and I'll be back in a second. Welcome to Flight Past. My name is Simon. We continue our story today of Wellington's retreat. We looked into the Prussian retreat in the previous sections, and we've got to around about 11 o'clock in the morning, and the British Army and the Dutch Army have now pulled off this battlefield here, leaving the Royal Horse Artillery of Captain Mercer and some hussars as a rear guard in this area. Meanwhile, back over here at the battlefield of Ligny, we believe Napoleon has been ill. He's not been his usual self. He hasn't been his usual energetic self, and he seems to be a bit lethargic. Around about 11 o'clock, so it's quite a long time later, on the 17th, he eventually gives his orders to Grouchy, Marshal Grouchy, and he was to command about 33,000 men and told to pursue the Prussians. He had received a report that the Prussians had headed down in this direction towards Namur, and he believed that he'd essentially had split the Allied armies apart. However, in the night of the 16th, there was a big thunderstorm, rain, darkness, confusion, and what Napoleon didn't do is look to his north in this direction here, and the two corps basically of Ziton and Perch 1 have retreated this way up there to the north to a town called Wavre. Now, according to the version given by Grouchy, his story was that his orders were to pursue the Prussians, to attack them, to complete their defeat, and not to lose sight of them in any event. The Emperor added that he was about to join Ney to attack the English army, should it make a stand on the southern verge of the forest of Soignes, and he closed his remarks by directing Grouchy to correspond with him by the lateral road from Nivelles to Namur, which is this road below us. This low road here, which you can see stretching into the distance there, and that's heading west towards Quatre Bras. So far, these two accounts coincide. It's later added, though, that Napoleon said that it was important that Grouchy hold a position between the Prussian army and the main road on which the Emperor was to advance. And Gerard, one of the corps commanders, believes that this is the case as well. And it's believed that Napoleon said, "Press the enemy hard, but above all, always be in contact with me on your left." Now, we know that when Grouchy starts doing his feelers up this road here, he knows that there's a likelihood that some Prussians are headed this way to Namur, but we know that they're just deserters and they're heading that way. And when he gets here, he starts sending out patrols, and the local population say that they believe the Prussians are headed north to Wavre. Thielmann's corps did come here and then managed to escape up the road, this road here. Now, what happens now is a little bit controversial, because I think what happens is that rather than heading this way towards Wavre, Grouchy sends a message to say that he's going to go to a place which was called Sartre-Wallin, which is this village here. And essentially there's a crossroads, and we found it in the previous streams here. This is actually an old crossroads. This means that this is where we find Grouchy gets to on the morning of the 18th of June. And this allows him then, if he has to, either turn to the south or to the north. But he's also, I suppose in his thinking, he's putting himself between these two Prussian corps, stopping them from linking up. But what it does do is put him a long way away from Napoleon's right flank. And his only option is, if he does push this way back up to Wavre, but he's obviously now got at least 3 corps. In fact, he's going to have 4 corps because Boulou's corps turns up between him now and Waterloo. Okay, so that is the situation for the Grouchy position. Now, we Grouchy would actually later say he wrote a book called Observation sur la campagne de 1815. He remonstrated with with Napoleon, pointed out that the Prussians were far off in retreat, and that they had gained 14 hours upon their pursuers. He says at the time that he said to Napoleon that the French troops at Ligny hadn't expected to march that day. I mean, remember, he's got Van Damme and Gerard's corps, which were in the fighting of the 16th front line, and that they would be delayed, and that therefore he was too far behind the Prussians to chase them. So that's his response to that later on. He would deny that Napoleon had sent him an order sent by Bertrand that was had written in it, "It is important to ascertain what are the enemy's designs. Is he either separating from the English, or both are seeking to reunite to cover Brussels or Liège and try the chances of another battle? You will explore the directions of Namur and of Maastricht, and you will pursue the enemy. Explore his march, instruct me respecting his manoeuvres, so that I may be able to penetrate what he is intending to do. It is important to penetrate what the enemy is intending to do, whether they are separating themselves from the English, or whether they are intending to still to unite to cover Brussels or Liège. In trying the fate of another battle, in all cases, keep constantly your 2 corps of infantry united in a league of ground, and occupy every evening a good military position, having several avenues of retreat, possible intermediate detachments of cavalry, so as to communicate with headquarters." And that's the sort of message that Grouchy's got. It's kind of like I mean, you can sense there as well that he doesn't expect it's going to be a long campaign. I think what happens is I just think that Napoleon is wanting the best of both, wanting his cake and eating it. He wants to know where the Prussians are going, but he also wants the Grouchy to be close to him. So, and the way he talks as if it's not going to be a fight the next day. You know, it seems like it's going to be a rolling campaign. It doesn't seem to be. it seems to me that when we get to somewhere like Waterloo and that the Wellington stands there, is it really necessary for Napoleon to attack? He could have waited. Wouldn't have needed to have attacked on the 18th. Could have waited, sent an order to Grouchy to come and support him. Maybe he was still worried about the Prussians joining up. Anyway, around about this time, after these orders are sent out, I think maybe Napoleon realizes that he's dithered too long, and he basically comes out of his trance and gets going. He sends off now, and this is Lebau. He sends off Lebau's corps to attack the British left flank at Quatre Bras, and he orders Drouot and the Imperial Guard to follow him. So he's decided then that 33,000 troops of Grouchy should be enough to press the Prussians back. Presumably he's thinking like, keep the Prussians on your right hand side, stay I'm on your left. Lebau and the Imperial Guard are sent to attack Quatre Bras from this direction here. So, let's do a bit of flying. So, in summary, then, Napoleon definitely is ordering Grouchy up to Gembloux, check things out there, and keep him basically informed, and keep the Prussians, chase them, but keep them away from the British, and keep Napoleon informed about it. I think the mistake that Grouchy has done, though, is to move that extra move east from Gembloux. I think once you know that the army of the Prussians have split, your main concern then is you don't need to be concerned with the troops moving to Namur. You just want to be concerned with the troops moving to Wavre. Our friend Captain Merceau in the Royal Horse Artillery, he reports at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that the French are still not advanced, that their campfires indicated they were still cooking, and that this had allowed Wellington to leave unmolested. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, this is from Lieutenant Ingleby. He's a member of the Royal Horse Artillery. He reports that the climate becomes intolerably hot, and you basically get this sort of closeness. The clouds start to darken, and he says at the same time, and this is almost like it is now, you've got these darkening clouds, He says that a large cloud of dust could be seen rising, which showed that a large body of cavalry were coming up to reinforce the French, and they came from a direction on the right of the enemy. So he's basically describing either Lebau's corps, the cavalry elements of his corps arriving from the east here, or the Imperial Guard cavalry coming this way. Now, Napoleon reaches up to this point here around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he is amazed to find that Ney has done nothing. And Ney offers the excuse to Napoleon to say that he thought that the whole of Wellington's army was in front of him, but he had basically fallen for the Wellington's tricks of showing his army and then retiring them, and he hadn't actually sent forward any reports. Later on in St. Helena, Napoleon would remark that Ney, he thought Ney was no longer the man he used to be, and he had found out basically about Wellington's retreat from a cavalry reconnaissance that he himself had sent out earlier in the day from Fleurius, and not from Ney himself. Vivian, Major General Hussey Vivian, he was the guy in charge of the 6th Light Cavalry Brigade. He wrote a letter to his wife in on the 23rd of June 1815, and he says at the time, we remained quietly on the ground, covering the retreat on the left until about 2 o'clock, when immediately on my left I observed the great dust, and by looking a little nearer I discovered an enormous column of cuirassiers, lancers, hussars, etc., moving over a hill into the high road, which was my flank. So let's see if we can imagine where that would be. I've flown over this place so many times, I still find it difficult to find the battlefield. Turn around. Here we go. So we're trying to find where Major General Sir Hussey Vivian would have made this comment. So he starts off, we remained quietly on the ground. So presumably, when he means the ground, he means the battlefield, covering the retreat on the left. So I would suggest that he's somewhere on this road here. I think he's probably maybe down here, possibly in this place here. He says then he looks, and he's covering the. If you look right here, you're looking towards the French of Ney, and then he says on his left, he observes a great dust coming probably down this road, and he says, looking nearer, he sees cuirassiers, lancers, hussars, and it says moving over a hill into the high road which was on my flank. So I mean, this is a hill on its flank, coming from Bry. So we could suggest that he's talking possibly about this section here. And Napoleon comes across. He says that the when he gets up to here, he essentially finds just the rear guard. So that's likely to be Hussey Vivian's 6th Light Cavalry Brigade. And it's believed here, I mean, you have to put these, sometimes these things a little bit of pinch and salt, but he's believed to have said here that France has been ruined. Go, my dear general, place yourself at the head of the cavalry and press the rear guard vigorously. So he's he says that to de Erlon as well. So he's come up here. He's found that there's only a rear guard, and you know, he's probably in contact with the Ney by now. And he says to de Erlon, "Send your cavalry, press the rear guard vigorously." Tells it's believed he's just angry with Ney at the moment, and he says to him, you know, follow him, and he takes a horse battery with him and rides to the head of the column in pursuit of the British. And they call it something like a steeplechase. Now, I believe a lot of this pursuit is happening across these fields as well. I'm not sure that this is here. This whole village wasn't there. Some of the buildings that were there was this one. This one was the farmhouse on the cross. So they might have been streaming across this way. Mercer describes them having to beat a skillful retreat and pausing at every opportunity to launch counterattacks. And he's talking about the French columns, French squadrons. So they're getting pursued back this way and having to unlimber every now and then, fire a shot, and push them back again. Now, this is when the weather starts to take an important role in the retreat. We hear about a huge thunderstorm at this time. It's probably around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And what this does, it basically denies the French the ability to outmaneuver the British by going cross-country. And they have to limit their movement along the chaussee, as they call it, the road. Now, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Grouchy will send his message to Napoleon that he's reached Gembloux. Napoleon won't actually receive that until 2 a.m. on the 18th, in the morning of the 18th. So to get your head around this, then in the evening, so he gets the Jean Blow. He's telling him he's going to be going to that crossroads at Wellington, which he will be at, and Napoleon receives that information at around about 2 a.m. So that's quite a slow delivery of a message, but so we know then at 2 o'clock in the morning on the 18th, and Napoleon is probably up here at the battlefield of Place Nord, and he now knows at 2 a.m. that the likelihood is that Grouchy is here at the Sars-les-Wellington. So who's at fault here the next day? That seems like a long distance to hope for support the next day. You can assume, well, you don't even know that but you assume that Grouchy will move north following the Prussians. You would definitely want to be sending a message out to Grouchy saying, okay, I know you're where you are, but please come to Louvain, Le Neuve, and possibly cut through these valleys here, and at least get yourself at a place like Bourgeois, Rixensart, this sort of area here, to deny the Prussians getting there. Does he do that? Well, we'll find out. But that's what you would expect to do once you heard that information. Right. Well, we wanted to do the retreat, and I've been streaming here today now for about 2 hours, so I think I'm going to finish for the day today. And so we've got to the point literally where the French are, or Napoleon himself has had to come to Quatre Bras to find out that the British are not there, and that he's now pressing the British back. So in the next stream, which will probably be tomorrow, I will continue the story as Napoleon's army pushes up this road north, and we'll conclude the 17th of June, hopefully, in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you have questions, and if you do, pop them in the comments, and we'll look into it. If you've got any requests, then please let me know. We will be streaming tomorrow. We'll be on Twitch and YouTube. The videos will be going up on YouTube, and any chance of a like or a follow would be great. We're a small channel growing, and we will carry on chatting about history. Please do join in. Hopefully when more people join in, I won't have to just ramble on forever. But this is what we will be doing as a channel. We're going to be looking at different parts of history and checking out what they look like from the ground in detail, as you can tell. Ideas that I've got for subjects at the moment will be the Falklands War. We'll be looking at Operation Market Garden, Dunkirk, Barbarossa. I'm thinking possibly Anglo-Zulu War, English Civil War, American Civil War. Maybe do some Vietnam, and all the other bits and bobs. But if you have any suggestions, then put it in the comments below. Okay, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next stream. Thank you.